Yo, what up, YouTube? It's your boy, No the Zod. Anyway, Spence, I wasn't really gonna drop a video today. You know, I had a few things I wanted to say, but I wasn't gonna drop nothing. But people keep giving me this question on this Vato Young Buck, and and no matter how many times I say that it's not really my business what that dude does. That's I guess I'll answer a few questions, and also for the shit with this cat 6ix9ine. I read a couple of comments, and basically, Vatos were a little curious why. I chose not to mention this Vato's history as a supposed Chester. For one, whenever you get into his story, he was in fact underage when that shit took place. So, that goes without saying. Number two, I ain't seen his paperwork, so who am I to speak up on that man? That was from the East Coast. That has nothing to do with the camaradas. It's not like motherfuckers can reach out and touch him. It's just, he got his people. They'll deal with him the way they want to deal with him. So on that note, like, I mean, any homie knows that if you ain't got no paperwork, you just basically keep your mouth shut. And since I ain't got no paperwork, he's not a homie, and he's from the East Coast. I mean, what could I really do to the Vato? So I'm not gonna, what I said on my last video about him being smart, he may not be articulate, but he's smart is because he knows how to sell albums. He knows how to sell songs. He knows how to get his money. So on that note, I'll give him his. But as far as like Chester, I don't have no paperwork on the Vato, so I'm not gonna come on YouTube and do like the rest of these dick riders and talk shit about him because, and that's not even being negative. It's just I'm not finna jump on that bandwagon in order to get views. If that fool did what he did what he did. You know what I mean? And his shit will catch up with him eventually. Maybe, whoever his people are that deal with him. But he ain't from California. He's from the East Coast. And I don't have his paperwork. So that's all I'm going to say on that. So for whoever got triggered on that, Spencer, but the get down. We don't, without paperwork, it's just, I mean, and I'm not finna go smut about that. I'm not finna say nothing about nobody that ain't even my homeboy, that fool. He appeals to the youngsters, let him do his thing, whatever. Vatos feel some type of way about it, the Vatos should be performing in Orange County. Go handle it there, And that's all I'm gonna say about that, dude, and this shit about Young Buck, look, to be honest, dude, look, I don't know if the Vato fuck with the Chudo. I mean, there's a lot of people that fucking do weird shit, if he wants to fuck with a man, that's him. I don't care. He's not my homeboy, That dude is from, like, what, South Carolina? We don't have nothing to do with that, dude. I mean, we don't even run the same constitution, so why would I even say something about him? As far as, like, his OGs, like, I was reading some shit and watching a YouTube video, and there was fools really on there triggered at the fact that he's not getting touched. For one, the dude's not even a gangbanger, you know what I mean? For three, it's like, that's his life, you know what I mean? Now, if you got cats that want to back him, as his homeboys, they backing him. They ain't tripping off, But there was one shit in particular when they were mad because the OG said that he may not agree with it if that dude really did do what he did, but it's not his life, that ain't his homeboy from his hood. So, with that being said, that's basically all I'm gonna say about Young Buck. If he like fucking with transgenders, that's him. That's not my life. But what's funny? Look, I'm gonna get into something, and I know some fools are probably gonna get triggered. But for most homies, and motherfuckers can deny it all they want. But back in the days, how many older homies was fucking with younger hyenas? And I'm not talking about fucking 11-year-olds, but how many homies have been fucking with younger hyenas? There's a gang of fools that I can fucking name them off the back. And the only warning their homies would give them is like, hey, you know what happens if you go to jail? But yet this motherfucker on the street still fucking with 14 and 15-year-olds, and this motherfucker in his 30s and shit. Like, a lot of motherfuckers could lie about that shit and say, oh, it didn't happen. It happened. And a lot of fools know that it happened and know that it's probably still happening. From my little hood, if we catch a homie doing that shit, he was getting packed the fuck out. So that shit wasn't tolerated. But I can guarantee you, dude, there's a gang of fools I know off back that I could just put out there, but that's not my business. That's their vodka. If they choose to let them do what they do, but we all know, dude. So about Chester's, like, dude, we know motherfucking homies that have fucked with younger hyenas, and it's just, oh, that's my hyena. But like, hold on, motherfucker, you older than her by 20 years. So we ain't gonna go into that. Like, people, they got selective amnesia, but we all know that that's went down in the Vargas, that's went down with other hoods. Like, yeah, I'm not finna get into that It's not my job to govern motherfuckers. If you're from where I'm from, you know what I'm saying, the spot that I'm from, and I catch you with a younger, I'm gonna beat the shit out you, and that's not even negative. I just, I got kids, you know, and I ain't gonna be seeing that shit. But for the most part on that, it's like, what can I really say, dude? That's beyond me. You know what I'm saying? It's like, at the end of the day, dude, that's not on me to govern Young Buck and 6ix9ine and any other cat that's not my homeboy or don't run with our car just because, you know, they did what they did. That has nothing to do with the Double S, you know. Oh, and as far as like the rappers in Texas, you're right. For the one that, you know, made that comment, I mean, they got some rappers from Texas that are fire, you know, but at the end of the day, their own ain't really looking out for them. And I mean, you can see that shit with Slim Thug and them and the youngsters going at it right now because they ain't getting looked out for. You know, Cali, look out for Cali rappers, you know, sometimes. And then you got the East Coast looking out for their artists, you know, and they ain't really backing 6ix9ine like that. But, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's just shit like I try not to get into because I kind of find it comical. I think there's a lot of other shit on the street going on right now with this election year and the fact that, you know, motherfuckers are coming up missing constantly, you know. That's what I'm saying. Like, as far as, like, you know, somebody came on and they said something about paying homage. You know, it's understandable you think like that, and it's cool, you know. For the most part, I think people give their homage, pay homage to people that they respect, not a whole entire race. You know, they're not going to come up to me and be like, oh, since you're black, thank you for allowing me to rap. You know what I'm saying? And that's not even to make light of it, but it's just like shit like that. Like, I respect your, you know, your opinion, whatever, but I just don't see it like that. And, you know, and there's some people that's black as well ain't going to see it like that. They don't care who. As long as you rep the culture, see, that's the thing about most races. I mean, certain ones, you know, they can accept the fact that you embrace their culture, you know, and then there's going to be other ones that dislike it because that's just something in them to make them hate it. You know, they don't want nobody to learn their secrets. They don't want nothing. You know, that you got fools that don't want you to know Spanish. They got their reasons, and you got some blacks that don't want dudes sounding like them. They don't want to spread their culture, which is funny because our culture is so much in disarray. Like, it's like a lot of times we don't know our own culture. You know what I mean? It's just we go by politics and, you know, street shit. If I had beef with you, it's like I hate you for whatever reason there is. But that's the shit that I find comical, that people will come into the comments and they'll argue about the smallest shit when, you know, all the actuality, it's like so much shit out here is happening. Like, people got blinders on to half the shit that's going on in the United States right now and around the country and in other countries. You know, there's people dying on the street. There's people homeless, you know, people pushing pro this, pro that, but won't help their people do shit. Like, that's the shit. Like with gangs. Gangs started, you know, basically to help their communities. Now it's not like that. You know, nobody's helping out their communities. And if they do, they're on a different page or they're looked at like clowns. Like, fuck this fool. He's trying to make... He's over here trying to make shit better, but you got these cats over here that don't want to see it. So what they do, they'll kill the fool or something stupid like that because they don't want shit cleaned up, you know? People talk about identity crisis, but they have their own identity crisis. It's like you hate this one so much, but you're doing exactly what you're assuming they would do. Killing your own, you know what I'm saying? And that's all across the board. That's, you know, with all this shit, like as far as like the rap and the positivity I'm trying to push out, you know, people, they tend to go straight to the negative. Like, you want to go to the negative, but what about that mass shooting they just had? Like, why not speak on that? Why not go create a YouTube channel and talk about some of the injustice in the world, you know, instead of just directing your anger at one particular race as if they encompass everything. You know, you got cats that can't stand blacks. And, I mean, there's more people in this world. Or you got cats that can't stand Mexicanos, but there's more people in this world. They're not the only ones. I mean, and it's not even all of them. You got particular groups that have issues with other blacks, and it's like, that's not all of them. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's like saying every black hates this or every white hates this. It's like people tend to generalize shit in order to make shit a lot more trivial, when all actuality it's just insecurities. It's like a lot of these gaps that people are trying to bridge, people don't want them to bridge them because, you know, then you would have to really sit back and look at yourself and understand that in a lot of cases, you ain't that much different, you know? The only difference is maybe, you know, as far as like culture, some people know their culture down to you know, you got people that are scholars, you got people that just they study 24/7, but they're always gonna get some misconstrued history because everybody thinks this way. I think this way, this food thinks this way, this person thinks that way. So, you know, if you really want to get on something, let's just talk about how society is, you know, basically emasculating you. You know what I'm saying? And it's like you got guys dressing in drag and they're not even gay. You know what I mean? You got guys doing comedy, they're acting like they're gay, you know, while you got these cats over here uh, learning everything from military strategics to logistics to everything. They're teaching their kids young, but yet you go over here to our communities and cats are, you know, trying to do anything and everything just to make it. You know what I mean? And sometimes backwards. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, what the hell? You know, you're over here worrying about this dude being gay when these people got the potential to destroy you in the future, but your eyes are on a whole different thing. Like it's like, and I know this is like a little scattered, you know. I'm not even expecting this video to get really any views, but it's just like people need to open their eyes and really sit back and think about the fact that the world is steadily spinning and you either move on with it or this shit buries you. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah. So please, no more shit about Young Buck. I don't care about Young Buck. 6ix9ine, let dude do him. If you got paperwork and you want to go handle them, hey, he'll be in Orange County from what I heard. And that's not anything negative. It's just like, why should I talk about the dude when I don't know him? You know, it's just whatever. You know, Chomork, whatever. I don't care. You know, it's not like the dude's right in front of me. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, with that being said, I'm your boy Zod. You enjoy the rest of your day, and I'm out.